بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونؤمن به ونتوكل عليه ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله ثم بعد. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in Surah Al-Baqarah, verse 256, أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم لا إكراه في الدين قد تبين الرشد من الغي فمن يكفر بالطاغوت ويؤمن بالله فقد استمسك بالعروة الوثقى لا انفصام لها والله سميع عليم. Allah says there is no compulsion in the deen, no forcing or making somebody change the deen by duress and force. Okay, it's not possible because nobody can force your heart. They can force you to say something with your tongue, and that doesn't count under duress. Okay? But they can't force your heart. Impossible. So la ikraha fi din. Okay? There's no compulsion in the deen, in the religion, the way of life, in your belief. Nobody can force you to become a disbeliever, even if they torture you, and even if you say it with your tongue under torture, it doesn't count as long as your heart is full of iman. And nor can you force somebody to become Muslim. It doesn't count if you force them. If they didn't believe in it and they just said it to save them, that doesn't count. قَدْ تَبَيَّنَ الرُّشْدُ مِنَ الْغَيِّ. And the right path, okay, al-rushd, the guidance, has become distinct and clear from the wrong path. These are the two camps. There will always be two camps, the camp of Iman and the camp of Kufr, the camp of Tawheed and the camp of Shirk, the camp of Haqq and the camp of Batil, the camp of the truth and the camp of the falsehood. The Muslims and the disbelievers. There's always going to be these two camps. Okay? In one camp there is the believers, the Muslims, those who believe in Allah, the Anbiya, the angels, the Mujahideen, the Salihin, the Siddiqeen, the Ulama, the Mujahideen, the Khulafa. They are in the camp of Islam. And in the camp of Kufr, you have all of the kuffar. We don't distinguish between them. Okay? Some people, they think, oh, why do you hate the Jews? There's nothing personal about the Jews. We hate all kuffar. It's all of them. Doesn't matter what religion they are. Doesn't matter which type of kafir they are. For us, they are all what? Millatun wahida. Al-kufr millatun wahida. The kufr is one deen, one religion. Because the fact is, it's not Islam. Anything not Islam is kufr. So these two clear camps, these two clear paths. قَدْ تَبَيَّنَ الرُّشْدُ مِنَ الْغَيِّ. The right path is become distinct and clear from the wrong path. There's no confusion. That's why you can't say, that you don't know what is Muslim, what is kafir. If you don't know what is Muslim, what is kafir, that means you're not Muslim. Okay? Because the two paths are so clear. How can you be confused? The one who doesn't make takfir on the mushrikeen, doesn't make takfir on the Jews and the Christians, doesn't make takfir on the Muslim who becomes Jew or Christian. What difference does it make if he was originally kafir or he became kafir? Okay? If you don't recognize that the one who commits the shirk and the kufr, the clear-cut kufr, the one who denies Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam, for example, he clear kufr, he commits it, and you don't call him kafir. You don't distinguish between the two. That means you never really knew what was Islam. You never really start ascribing yourself to the religion of Islam. Because for you, the Muslim and the kuffar are the same. Because you don't distinguish between them. So the ayah is so clear. قَدْ تَبَيَّنَ الرُّشْدُ مِنَ الْغَيِّ. The right path is become distinct and clear from the wrong path. It's so clear. These are the Muslims, these are the kuffar. Even the disbelievers know which one. No, this guy is Muslim. And this guy's kafir. Okay? That's why even when the moderates start to say, no, Dawla, they're not really Muslims, Abu Bakr, not really, they're not accepted from them. They're not look at them, yeah, okay, yeah, right, okay, yeah. No. However, even Barack Obama, he can make takfir, all he likes, and say, no, they're not really Muslims. But nobody accepted from him. Because it's clear, this is Islam, this is kufr. Okay? So then Allah SWT said, look, you've got a choice. The path is so clear to you. You've got the choice of being with this camp or being with that camp. Okay? This camp, they worship Allah exclusively. This camp, they worship what's called Taghoot, other than Allah. And we're going to define that today. So Allah said what? فَمَن يَكْفُرْ بِالطَّاغُوتِ وَيُؤْمِن بِاللَّهِ. So whoever disbelieved in the Taghoot and he believed in Allah, فَقَدْ اسْتَمْسَكَ بِالْعُرْوَةِ الْوُثْقَى لَا انْفِصَامَ لَهَا. Then he has grasped the firm handhold. Okay, al-urwa is the knot. Something when you tie a knot together. Okay, and you hold on to it. Something you can hold on to. Okay, the most firm handhold, al-urwa al-wuthqa, is known as what? Al-kalimatu la ilaha illallah. Okay, Ibn Abbas said, al-urwa al-wuthqa, okay, فهي كلمة لا إله إلا الله. That strong, firm handhold, it is the kalima, the word La ilaha illallah. Okay? This saying of Tawheed, that there's none worthy of worship beside Allah. La ilaha, you disbelieve in all Taghut. You say there is none worthy of worship illallah, except Allah, I believe in. That's called, okay, at-Tawheed. Okay? Al-Urwatul Wuthqa. Okay? So, from this ayah, we learn about the two pillars of Tawheed. I'm going to introduce these two pillars for you today, and then we're going to define the word Taghoot because it's essential, and then we're going to talk about the pillars more later. Okay? So, pillars of Tawheed. Okay. Pillars of Tawheed, there are two. Okay. Two pillars of Tawheed. Number one, Kufr bit-Taghut. Okay, Al-Kufr bit-Taghut. The ayah said, فَمَنْ يَكْفُرْ bit-Taghut. Whoever had kufr al-Taghut, they reject the Taghut, or disbelieve in the Taghut. Okay, I'm not going to define Taghut yet because that is going to be the topic of today. Okay, and then وَيُؤْمِن بِاللَّهِ, and they believe in Allah. They have iman in Allah. Belief in Allah. These are the two pillars of Tawheed. Okay, Allah said, whoever did this, had kufr and Taghut, and then believe in Allah, فَقَدْ اسْتَمْسَكَ بِالْعُرْوَةِ الْوُثْقَى, then they've grasped La ilaha illallah. They've got it. Okay, and that handhold, it will never break. And Allah Ta'ala, He is all hearing, all knowing. So these are the two pillars of Tawheed. Check yourself. You want to check yourself all the time. Am I really muwahhid? Am I really Muslim? Because the Tawheed is essential for you to be saved, for your own blood to be sanctified, your wealth to be sanctified, for your deeds to be valid, for you to enter Jannah. You need the Tawheed. You need these pillars. Because if you don't have them, your Tawheed is nullified. Your Tawheed is nullified. And you should be afraid of that shirk. Don't ever feel that you are, guaranteed, that you have some kind of guarantee that you will be in Jannah. Okay? Hassan al-Basri, he said that the iman, okay, it is not, a tamanni. It's just I hope, hope or a wish, okay, or a decoration, like a badge. You wear it. Okay, you wear a topi and you say, what? I'm Muslim. I'm going to go to Jannah. Why? Because you're a topi? Okay, and so no, because I want to go to Jannah, I'm going to go to Jannah. Because I want to be a believer, I am going to be a believer. Because I want to be muwahhid, I must be a muwahhid. No, it doesn't work like that. He said, what? Al-Iman is Al-Iman ma waqara fil qalb wa saddaqahu bil amal. Iman is what's settled in the heart and confirmed by the actions. So you need to check yourself. Do you have the pillars of Tawheed? Okay, and even Ibrahim alayhi salam, who was Nabi al-Tawheed, the Prophet of Tawheed. Okay, he is the one who He told us he is an example for us to follow. In his Tawheed, his clear, open Tawheed. Even he was afraid, that he could fall into the shirk without realizing. Okay? Because that's how dangerous it is. The shirk is something that could reach you while you didn't even realize. Okay, when you didn't even realize. In Surah Ibrahim, verse 35, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَإِذْ قَالَ إِبْرَاهِيمُ رَبِّ جَعَلْ هَذَا الْبَلَدَ آمِنًا وَاجْنُبْنِي وَبَنِيَّ أَن نَعْبُدَ الْأَصْنَامِ. He said, okay, when Ibrahim said, "Oh my Lord, make the city secure for me and save me, protect me and my sons from worshipping idols." Okay, this is Ibrahim alayhi salam. He didn't just say, "Look, what if I'm muwahhid? So there's no way that the kufr or the shirk can ever penetrate into my heart." No, he didn't think like this. He never thought, "I'm safe, I'll be fine, no problem. I will never ever become mushrik." He never thought like that. Even though he's the Nabi and he's infallible. And his two sons are who exactly? Okay, Ismail and Ishaq, two Nabis as well. All three of them are infallible. And yet he was afraid. What if we fell into the shirk after we had Tawheed? Surah 14, verse 35. So even he was afraid, look, what if we, change after we were on Tawheed and we fall into the shirk? Okay? This is what the mistake, some people, they start to say to you, brother, how can so-and-so big shaykh and alim, after he's been studying for 50 years, all of his life is in Medina University and Riyadh University and Al-Qura and all these universities, how can he after that commit the kufr just because he called for voting in the elections? Just because he called for democracy today, how can he possibly ever become kafir? After 50 years of being Sufi and Ghunusi and making dhikr in the masjid, how is it possible that he could fall into the kufr? Just because he said a word of kufr? No, brothers. All of your history does not save you. All of your good deeds will not save you. All of your good deeds do not protect you unless you're on guard from the shirk. Okay? This is why even Ibrahim alayhi salam, who refuted his entire community and tried his own father as a child, destroying the idols, even he was afraid. What if I become mushrik tomorrow? What if my children become mushrik tomorrow? So don't just take it as, I'm safe, I'll be okay. You need to always protect yourself. Whenever the whisper comes to you, whenever somebody starts to, whether it's a shaitan from the jinn whispering to you to commit shirk, they're saying to you, now's your time to relax. Look, maybe there's a little bit of maslahah in this election. Maybe if we just vote for him, maybe we just ward off this evil. Maybe maybe we have more success in this way. Or you have a shaitan of the ins, shaitan of the mankind, of the human shaitan, coming to you with his big fatawa and his big turban, giving khutbah in the masjid. Come on, your vote is an amana, is a trust. You must give your vote. Don't betray it. Don't abandon it. Both of them shaitan. Both of them are shaitan. So we should make this dua and be on guard from that shaitan that wants to take us away from the tawheed and falling into the shirk. So what are these two pillars exactly? Al-kufr bil-taghut wal-iman billah. Okay, At-Taghoot is, I'm going to summarize for you now quickly. It is anything worshipped or followed or obeyed instead of Allah. That is called Taghoot. So we want to reject it, disbelieve in it. We want to keep distance from it. We don't want its help. We don't want its prizes and rewards and awards and come and give me a medal. Why do I want a medal from the Taghoot for? Why do I need shaitan to give me a medal? What for? Okay? We're not interested in pleasing the Taghoot. We're interested in pleasing Allah. We're not interested in worshipping Taghoot. We want to worship Allah. We're not interested in fighting for Taghoot. We want to fight for Allah. Okay? This is how we understand the difference between the muwahhid and the kafir. The Muslim fights for the sake of Allah, calls for the sake of Allah, calls the people to Allah, worships, obeys, follows, loves Allah. And the kafir, he fights for the sake of Taghoot. He means for another reason other than Allah. Okay? Let's say to you, why are you fighting in the name of Islam, name of Allah for? As if what? Fight in the name of, kill people in the name of democracy. That's okay. As long as democracy, it's fine. No. The one who fights in the name of democracy is fighting in the name of Taghoot. Killing in the name of Taghoot. Murdering and raping. All these people, they do. The funny thing, the Muslims never raped, they never tortured, they never killed the children. No, you don't have these cases, of the Islamic State, for example, beheading children or torturing children. That's what Bashar al-Assad does. Okay, they said that they go to war and they're sending drones. Why? Because Jihadi John, as they call him, he killed somebody and filmed himself killing somebody. Okay, and he happened to be somebody Western. At the end of the day, that's what makes his blood real blood. At the end of the day. Okay? And that's the reason why they went to war. Why? Because they made a video. They made a video and they killed somebody on the video. And now when you see this other video that's come out, I don't know if you've seen it, there's a video now from the Iraqi army where they have a young child, 9 or 10 years old, and he is a captive, he's a prisoner, tied up, and they shoot him on the head on camera, on film. So where are the drone strikes in Baghdad? Where are all the coalitions to say, declared, we need to fight against the Iraqi army? No, Iraqi army is their ally, is their friend. It was never about violence. This war is not about how can we stop the violence, how can we stop people being killed, how can we stop these people killing each. No, that's not the reason why they're going to war. They knew the Iraqi army had been killing and murdering long before the Islamic State was established. They knew Bashar al-Assad had been killing long before the Islamic State was been established. They knew the PKK were a terrorist organization, even banned in the UK. And yet you got this man who went to fight for the PKK, okay, from Britain. Free, no problem. And even they're praising him, glorifying him now on the TV. You see, it's not about, stopping fighting, violence. It's not about stopping bombs, or killings. No, they're fighting against Islam. What they don't want is for Islam to govern and provide security and welfare for the people. They don't want that to be the case. They want their own puppets there, even if they are murderers and rapists and killers. So anyway, back to what we were talking about. At-Taghoot. Okay. At-Taghoot. If you don't know what Taghoot is, you got a problem. Because you need to have kufr al-Taghoot in order to be Muslim. Okay. Now I'm not saying here that if you don't know the meaning of the word Taghoot, you're not Muslim. Okay. Because the concept people will not. But you should recognize the Shari'ata so you can know, exactly what we're talking about. So we need to study, what does this ayah mean? Okay. What is the Taghoot? Okay. What is a Taghoot? Let's go on this word. Okay. At-Taghoot. What is it? Linguistically, in the Arabic language, it's from the word tagha, okay, which means to transgress. Let's get another color. Okay. Or to transgress the limits. Okay. So anything that transgresses the limit, okay, it has, we say tagha, it has transgressed. Okay, we say that the water, it transgresses the limit or the boundary. For example, if you have a cup and the water goes over the limit, over the top, then it's transgressed the limit. It's gone over the limits. It's gone over the top. Okay. So anything which goes over the top or goes beyond the boundaries is called transgression. Is called Tughyan, or he has, tagha. In the Arabic, we put it in the past tense. Okay, say tagha is he means it transgressed or he transgressed. Okay, so one of the linguistic meanings we're talking about, the one who transgresses the limits. Okay, and even Allah Ta'ala says in Surah Nazi'at. Okay, He said, and we get the reference for you exactly, inshallah. Surah 79 verse 37, Allah says, فَأَمَّا مَنْ طَغَى وَآثَرَ الْحَيَاةَ الدُّنْيَا. Okay, the one who transgressed the limits and he preferred this life over the hereafter. Okay, then he will be obviously in the hellfire. 37 to 38. Okay, so Surah 79, 37 to 38. Surah 79, verse 37 to 38. Okay, so this is the linguistically the meaning of that. So technically, in the Arabic language, anybody who goes beyond the limits, they are say Taghoot. Okay, now we know as well from the other hadith how the Prophet ﷺ said, what is the limits? What are the limits set by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? So every king has a sanctuary and has, there are limits around that sanctuary. And the sanctuary of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the prohibited things, the muharramat, what Allah has forbidden you. So the one who goes over that limits, he has transgressed. He's transgressed upon it. He's Tagheen, you could say. They are transgressors. The way Allah Ta'ala says in another verse as well, Surah 51 verse 53, Allah said, أَتَوَاصَوْا بِهِ بَلْ هُمْ قَوْمٌ طَاغُونَ. Surah 51 verse 53. Okay. So Allah Ta'ala calls them Taghoot. You are people who have transgressed. Okay, because you went over there, you did the prohibited things, whether it's disbelieving in Allah or disobeying Allah, these are going over the limits. And even, so in the hadith of Safina, the hadith of the boat, which we studied before, the hadith says what? It said, مَثْلُ الْقَائِمِ لِحُدُودِ اللَّهِ. Okay? وَالْوَاقِعُ فِيهَا. He said the one who, the example of the one who stands up for the limits of Allah, and the one who falls down upon it. Okay, so the limits of Allah, what Allah is forbidden. So some people, they command good, forbid. They're evil, they stand up for the limits of Allah. They prevent anybody from transgressing over it. And you have al-waqi' fiha, the one who falls down upon it, and they transgress the limits of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So this is, all this is just in the Arabic language. But this is not the Sharia meaning we're referring to in terms of this ayah. Okay, this is not the Sharia meaning that we're referring to in this ayah. So what is the Sharia meaning? Okay. Sharia meaning, we understand it the way the Sahaba understand it. Okay. The way the Salaf al-Salih is the companions of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, how they understood it, that's how we must understand it. Okay. So the Sahaba, the way they understood it, and the way they described it, whether you're talking from Ibn Abbas or Ibn Mas'ud, or you're talking about Ali ibn Abi Talib, they all mention it, and these points have been compiled and summarized for us by the ulama of the Salaf on these topics. And they said that, for example, Imam Malik, he said, الطاغوت ما عبد من دون الله. Okay, this is one simple short definition. Okay, Al-Imam Malik, he said, الطاغوت ما عبد من دون الله. Okay, ما عبد من دون الله is Taghut is anything that has been worshipped instead of Allah. Okay, and this is Jami' al-Ahkam al-Quran for Imam al-Qurtubi. Okay, so in Tafsir al-Qurtubi, he quotes Imam Malik saying, الطاغوت ما عبد من دون الله. Taghut is anything that has been worshipped instead of Allah. Okay, so this is the first Sharia meaning. Okay, so anything that's been worshipped. Okay, so if people have worshipped an idol, the idol is Taghut. If people worshipped, a man, okay, and that man is Taghut. If the people worship Shaitan, Shaitan is Taghut. If the people worshipped a cross, that cross is Taghut. If the people worship a law, that law is Taghut. And we'll talk about many different types and forms of Taghut later on. Imam Ibn al-Qayyim, he said, in Thalath al-Usul, in the three foundations, he said, الطاغوت ما تجاوز به العبد حده من معبود أو متبوع أو مطاع. He said, the Taghut is anything, okay, the slave that, anything that goes beyond the limits, okay, from those that have been worshipped or followed or obeyed. Meaning instead of Allah. Yeah, so he said anything, okay, any slave that goes beyond the limits, okay, from those who have been worshipped, followed or obeyed. Okay, so he added here worshipped, followed or obeyed. Okay. Meaning instead of Allah, obviously, because Allah Ta'ala deserves to be worshipped, deserves to be followed, deserves to be obeyed. Okay. We have one more statement we can give, inshallah, for Shaykh Muhammad ibn Abdul Wahhab, rahimahullah. He said, وَالطَّاغُوتُ عَامٌ فِي كُلِّ مَا عُبِدَ مِن دُونِ اللَّهِ وَرَضِيَ بِالْعِبَادَةِ مِن مَعْبُودٍ أَوْ مَتْبُوعٍ أَوْ مُطَاعٍ. So he's combined between the two, okay, to give us a good definition. He said, a Taghoot is generally anything that has been worshipped instead of Allah and is pleased with that worship, okay, whether he was worshipped, ma'bood, matbu' or muta', followed or obeyed. Okay, worshipped, followed or obeyed. Okay, because all of these is ibad. Okay, the one who worships does prostration, ritual acts of worship, so somebody slaughters in the name, okay, or they follow them or they obey them. It's all ibad. It's all worship. Okay, so this is in Risala fi Ma'na Taghoot, the letter in relation to, or the treatise in relation to the meaning of Taghoot by Shaykh Muhammad Abdul Wahhab. He said the Taghoot is generally anything that has been worshipped instead of Allah and is pleased with that worship, okay, whether he was worshipped, followed or obeyed. Okay. You with me? Okay. Okay, so that could be anything. Okay, it could be anything at all. And we said that Taghoot, it could be okay, human, could be jinn, okay, could be both. Okay. There's one hadith, Umar al-Khattab radiallahu anhu, he said that الطاغوت هو الشيطان. The Taghoot, it is shaitan. Okay, shaitan is from the jinn. So the shaitan, we know as well, the shaitan could be human as well. So, because the ayah says, من الجنة والناس, from the jinn and from mankind, you have both of them from shaitan. So it could be human shaitan, could be jinn shaitan. Every Taghoot is shaitan. And every shaitan is Taghoot. Okay, according to the definition of Shaykh Muhammad Abdul Wahhab. Anybody who is worshipped and is happy with people to worship him, okay, whether human or jinn, they are shaitan, they are Taghoot. Okay. But also, it could be that somebody was worshipped, but he wasn't happy with the worship. He wasn't happy with that. So he is safe. He is not accountable for that. But the people, what they worship, we still say the people are abadatul Taghoot. They are the worshippers of Taghoot. Because they are not worshipping Allah, they worship other than Allah. And they all made up their own mind. For example, Isa alayhi salam, Jesus, he didn't want them to worship him. But the people, they worship him. So they made up their own version of Jesus. Their own version of what Jesus is, and they worship. So they are still worshippers of Taghoot, okay, because of their own imagined God that they are claiming to be Isa. So it could be human, it could be a jinn, okay, it could be an angel. Okay, that he doesn't accept it, but the people worship it. Could be man, could be woman. Okay, could be a rock. Okay, could be a cross or a tree. Okay. يسمى من معبود أو متبوع أو مطاع. كل ما عبد من دون الله من معبود أو متبوع أو مطاع. Okay, we say من شجر أو حجر أو مرأة. Okay, أو إنسان أو جن أو شيطان. It could be anything. It could be absolutely anything at all. It could be as well your desires, hawa. Okay. Allah Ta'ala says what? أَفَرَأَيْتَ مَنِ اتَّخَذَ إِلَّهَهُ هَوَى. Have you seen the one who takes as his ilah, the one who worships his own desires, his hawa? Meanwhile, his hawa tells him what to do, what not to do, and he obeys it. Okay, I don't mean here somebody disobeyed Allah. I mean his hawa tells him what is halal, haram, what is lawful, what is not lawful. We make our own laws in parliament. You and I, we've got good minds, we are intelligent people. We would debate and decide according to our desires what we want to be the laws. and we will legislate it. He is worshipping his own desires. He's worshipping himself. So the hawa, it could be Taghoot, could be a law or a constitution. Okay, it could be a ruler or a judge. It could be any of these things. Okay, it could be many other things as well. It could be absolutely anything. There's no limit. Okay, and it could be as well an idol. Usually, what people they do is they go to the idol and say, okay, it's the idols. We have to reject the idols. So he said, it doesn't matter if I worship the grave as long as I don't worship the idols. Then he's Muslim. He's not Muslim. Okay, there's another one. Graves. Okay, could be a scholar. Okay, or a rabbi or a priest.
What did you find beneath the law?
Beneath the law, constitution. Okay, could be a rabbi, it could be a priest. Allah said, اتخذوا أحبارهم ورهبانهم أربابا من دون الله. They took their rabbis and priests as lords instead of Allah. Okay, it means they worship other than Allah from the rabbis and priests. So it could be absolutely anything, could be Taghoot. Anything whatsoever that has been worshipped instead of Allah is called Taghoot. And we are obliged to have kufr in that Taghoot. Okay? Obliged to have kufr in that Taghoot. Okay, we're going to talk about more about exactly how we do that as well in a moment. But there's two things I need to do. I need to talk to you about the conditions of kufr Taghoot, how we reject it, but we also can spend time talking about the different types of Taghoot. Okay, the different types of Taghoot or examples of Taghoot that we could talk about. Okay. So, let's talk about here, inshallah, first the heads, the worst of all of these Taghoot, and the branches of Taghoot as well. Okay, so let's classify some of what we just said, inshallah. Summarize it for us a little bit more. We have a rubber, yeah. Okay, so types of Taghoot. Based upon these definitions that we mentioned, let's talk about three main types. Okay. Which side should I start from the right? Okay. So we have الطواغيت المعبودة. The word Taghoot, by the way, it is singular and plural as well at the same time. You can also have the plural الطواغيت. المعبودة. Worshipped. Okay, so the one that is worshipped instead of Allah. Okay, worshipped instead of Allah. So we'll talk about a little bit more exactly what that means. Okay, and we have the second one we said. الطواغيت المتبوعة followed instead of Allah. And we have الطواغيت المطاعة. Obey instead of Allah. Obey instead of Allah. Okay, so الطواغيت المعبودة. It means the ones that you are offering ritual acts for them. Okay, so ritual acts. I'll put here this. So ritual acts include things like, dua. Okay, the one you make dua to, that is the one you worship. If you make a dua to other than Allah, you are worshipping Taghoot. You are not worshipping Allah. So like the one who, he, instead of asking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala alone, he asked the one in the grave. He says, Ya Abdul Qadir al-Jilani, for example. Or says, Ya Muhammad, help me, save me. Okay? Or says, Ya, I don't know, any one of these other peers that they worship.
Offering ritual acts, wouldn't loving Allah be a ritual act? So if you love someone more than Allah, doesn't that become
yes.
as well?
Yeah, the love is part of the ibadah, the worship as well. You could put it under there. Al-mahabba is the worship of the heart. So you have the worship of the heart, including al-mahabba, love. You have the al-rida, to be happy and satisfied. They have al-raja, the hope. You have as well, the fear, the taqwa, the khawf. The one you fear. If you fear other than Allah, you are worshipping other than Allah. Okay, so but for the ritual acts that we see as well, especially ones that are common, the dua, okay, is one of those. Okay, the Prophet ﷺ said in the hadith, Sahih, he said, "Ad-du'a ibadah." The dua is worship. Okay, the dua is worship. So the one you offer dua to, if it's other than Allah, you committed shirk in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Okay, so he makes dua to the grave, for example. Okay, isti'ana and istighatha is similar. Okay, isti'ana, okay, and istighatha. Okay, seeking the help and the appeal that you make when you are in dire need. Who do you go to? Who do you turn to? Turn to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Ask, oh Allah, help us, help me. When we say in the ayah, إِيَّاكَ نَعْبُدُ وَإِيَّاكَ نَسْتَعِينُ, only you we worship, only you we seek help from. So if you ask the help that only Allah can give, and you ask for that help from somebody else, okay, you are worshipping Him. So asking help is different types. You can ask somebody something which they're capable to do. For example, I can say to the brother, could somebody get me a cup of tea? For example, I don't actually want a cup of tea. But I could ask somebody, could you're capable to do that? You're able to do that. Or you can say, brother, look, I want to get married to so and so sister, and I'm afraid of her father. Can you come and talk to him for me, please? Okay, I'm not looking to get married either. But just so you know, this is one type of example. You can ask for that kind of help. That is permissible because it's within your capability. But if you say to somebody, Akhi, Abu Wala, can you forgive my sins? It's shirk in Allah. He can't forgive sins. Okay, so when they go to their priest, the Catholics, they go to their priests, and they go to them what? To seek forgiveness for his sins. He said, I want to confess my sins to you, and he says, I forgive you. Oh, what are you talking about? You forgive you? Who the hell are you to forgive? Okay, you can forgive your own right. Okay, somebody owes you money, you say, no, I forgive you. For my money, but you don't own the forgiveness for your sins. The sins belongs to Allah. It's something which Allah forgives. The forgiveness of the sins belongs to Allah. So if you're asking isti'ana, you're seeking their help, and istighath, you're appealing to Allah for things which only Allah can do. Okay? And you're asking the people for that, not possible. So man in the grave, we have no children, give us children. This is shirk in Allah. Okay? So save us. Save us from, this volcano, this earthquake. What are you talking about? Okay, you can say to somebody, go throw me that rope so you can get me out of the water. No problem. But save our lives, as if the people can give life, take life. So if you make isti'ana, istighatha, the dua, you to other than Allah, you become mushrik. You become mushrik. And the same thing, if somebody is dead, what can they do for you exactly? The hadith says the one who, when you die, all of their deeds come to an end. Okay, except for three. Meaning the three things that remain are things they've already done in the past. It's nothing new. So you can't ask somebody in the grave, pray for me, do this for me, do that for me, intercede for me. It's not acceptable because he's dead. He passed away now. Including Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. He passed away now. Abu Bakr as-Siddiq, he said what? Whoever worshipped Muhammad, let him know that he's dead. But if whoever worships Allah, Allah is alive, he'll never die. Okay? So Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he passed away. His deeds are finished. You can't ask him for anything anymore. Okay? So here we can look. The dua, when people they offer it to the graves or to the dead, okay, or seeking the forgiveness from the priest, okay, or to an idol, okay, or a cross, and they go there, go to the idol, they're asking the idol, okay, and they're sacrificing for the idol. It's another one as well. Ritual acts, slaughtering in the name of somebody. This is why the jinn, you see, the one who involves in magic, he will always commit the shirk, because the jinn will ask him, order him to do some kind of shirk. He will say to him, slaughter in the name of so and so, slaughter some animal, some chicken or something, and then I'll help you, otherwise I won't help you. That's why the magician always will fall into the shirk. The jinn will never help you unless you commit the kufr and shirk in Allah Ta'ala first. So that type of seeking help from the jinn as well is a form of shirk. You're worshipping the jinn and the shaitan. Okay? So it could be any of these things: the grave, the dead, the priest, the idol. It could be any object whatsoever. Okay? It could be a so-called saint. Okay? Could be you making sujood or ruku, bowing or prostrating. Could be as well tahakum. You are seeking the judgment from. Okay, so you have here the judge. It is a ritual act of worship. And it's an apparent ritual act of worship of the limbs. When you go to the judge and say, look, judge between you and me and him. We have so-and-so problem. What do you think? Tell us what is right. That tahakum is shirk in Allah. If you do that to other than Allah, you become mushrik. We studied about this last week. Okay? أَلَمْ تَرَ إِلَى الَّذِينَ يَزْعُمُونَ أَنَّهُمْ آمَنُوا بِمَا أُنزِلَ إِلَيْكَ وَمَا أُنزِلَ مِنْ قَبْلِكَ يُرِيدُونَ أَن يَتَحَاكَمُوا إِلَى الطَّاغُوتِ. Allah said, have you seen those who falsely claim to believe what was revealed to you before you? And yet they seek tahakum to the Taghoot. وَقَدْ أُمِرُوا أَن يَكْفُرُوا بِهِ. And they were ordered to reject it, to have disbelief in it. Meaning if you went tahakum to the Taghoot, you didn't have kufr in Taghoot. You didn't do it. You had iman in the Taghoot. Okay? So, because all of these actions, they are iman. The iman is any action or saying, whether hidden or apparent, that Allah is pleased with, that we offer to please Allah. Means from all of the worship of the heart, the tongue and the limbs, that is called ibadah, it's called iman. It's belief. So if you offer these to other than Allah, to any of these, you've had iman in the Taghoot and kufr in Allah. When you're supposed to have kufr in Taghoot and iman in Allah. You're supposed to reject all of these. Give up offering these ritual acts to any of these and only offer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala alone. So these are all some examples. Obviously there are many more you can think of. These are just some examples for you of al-tawagheet al-ma'boodah, how it could occur, and how that works, inshallah. And we have as well al-tawagheet al-matbu'ah. Al-matbu'ah. So these are many types as well we could talk about here. Okay. I'll give you 5 main ones, inshallah, we'll talk about here. We have al-uqul al-nakhira. So the empty mind. Instead to use his aql, his mind, and follow Allah Ta'ala, he's following his own mind. He's following his own ideas. He decided to just follow whatever he thought was good. And the Prophet ﷺ said what? So, لا يؤمن أحدكم حتى يكون عقله تبعا لما جئت به. He said, no one of you is a believer until his own mind, his own aql, okay, his mind, his heart, it is in accordance with what I have brought. Okay, so the one whose mind, yes.
Can you repeat that?
So the hadith said, no one of you is a believer until his mind or ration or thoughts, okay, al-aql, is in accordance to what I have brought. Okay? That's why when there's a conflict between what your mind tells you and what the wahi tells you, you know that your mind is wrong. Your mind has got it wrong. You're crossed up somewhere. Okay? It's got mixed up somewhere. I was talking online recently, with some people about evolution. I thought the people that have got no mind at all. They think that they are, very clever, but in fact they're so stupid. They think that they're being rational, but they're being so irrational. They think that they are, no, I'm really. All I said to somebody is, just look. You say to me that you don't believe in anything unless you can see it, observe it. That's why you don't believe in God. Well, how can you observe evolution? Tell me. Did you observe it? No, but you don't tell me no, we know about it. No, either you observed it or you didn't. Because science, apparently, or science, the principles they believe in, is that the theory is not scientific unless you can test it and observe the results. That's a scientific method. You can't test everything, so you can't check everything with science. It's not possible. And evolution is not scientific at all. And some people, they insist, no, there's loads of evidence. Actually, tell me what? No, but there's loads of evidence. Just tell me one of them. So no, I'm not wasting my time with you. You believe all the evidence is. Just tell me which one. Just tell me which one. They can't give you anything. They don't know. The reality is, what happened? They read it in a book somewhere and they believed it. But the book wasn't the Quran. It was some joker wrote a book and they believed it. Or some preacher told him and he blindly believed what he said. Okay, and the preacher was called so-and-so professor in the university. Okay, that's all that happened. They never tested anything, never went out, they didn't do anything. It's just blind faith that they are claiming the religion is blind faith. They are following themselves blind faith. So you have this empty mind. People, they just follow their own irrational mind. Okay, their own fitrah got corrupted, and so now their mind is wandering in the wrong direction, and they think it's correct. Okay, the fitrah will never give you, the original fitrah, the original instinct that Allah created you with, will not give you irrational ideas like this. You'll never come up with this idea of evolution or any of the other false ideas that they propagate with a natural instinct. It's not possible. Okay? The fitrah will always draw you back to the truth. This is why, if you ask anybody, for example, about homosexuality, for example, it takes a lot to convince somebody that it's normal to have homosexuality. You really have to convince somebody. Okay? And you have to drum it into them. You mustn't speak against homosexuality. Don't be intolerant of homosexuality. Are you homophobic? Don't be homophobic. And really push it into everybody's mind. Everywhere, radio, TV, schools, wherever they can. Make laws about it, punish you if you dare to do it. So until the people start to say to each other, even if they, they're not, they say, okay, well, what they do is their business. I'm not one to judge, and so on and so forth. It's okay. There's nothing wrong with it. And say, oh, I didn't know you were homosexual. So what? Who told you I'm homosexual? What made you? Don't, how dare you say that? So I thought there's nothing wrong with it. What happened? I thought it was okay. Why? Because in fitrah they know there's something wrong with it. They know in their heart there's something sick about it, disgusting about it. Okay? So the mind that Allah created you with will not accept these things. Will not accept the zina and the adultery to be okay. Okay? But it can be corrupted. And the one who starts following his empty mind and leaving what Allah sent down, and they want to follow that empty mind instead of following the revelation, they are following the Taghoot. Okay, al-uqul, okay, al-nakhira. And number 2, al-hawa. Okay, al-hawa, the desires. Desires is another thing that people they could follow. Okay, they could follow it. Okay. No, Allah Subhanahu said, "Have you seen the one who takes his desires as his ilah to be worshipped?" Okay. I'll give you some of these references later on. I'm going to go through it again, inshallah, with you. Okay. So the hawa, people they follow it. The hawa is what? Okay, al-hubb wal-mayl is what you love or what you're inclined towards, or you're tempted towards, or your heart sort of draws you to it. So somebody who just thinks, this is the mentality of those who say, everything is halal, everything's okay as long as you don't hurt anybody. If it's something good, I like it. I can see some goodness in it. I think that it's beneficial for me. Whatever I want to do is okay. Okay? So they think halal and haram based upon what they like or what they dislike in their own heart. Okay? Okay, so some people like the opposite gender, that's okay. Somebody like the same gender, that's okay. Somebody like children, somebody like animals, somebody like everything becomes okay. This is what the real hardcore atheists, they have this mentality because they say, look, nobody can tell me what to do. I decide. We decide what's good for us. Okay? And they think everything's no problem. Incest is okay. What's the big deal? Prostitution, okay, no problem. Yeah? Everything's okay. Yeah? So you see, the one who follows their desires, okay, and they let their desire be their legislator, their Lord, to tell them what is right and what is wrong, and they follow it. Okay, especially when they leave the guidance from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in order to follow his desires, then they have taken their own desires as a Taghoot. Okay? Now somebody says to you, Allah told you this. So no, but I don't want to do that. I want to follow this. I feel like this is better for me. Okay? I'm more inclined towards that. That person, he is following Taghoot instead of following Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Then you have, okay, the satanic ideas and conspiracies. Okay? These are satanic theories of what. So all conspiracies and satanic ideas. Okay. So some people, they'll follow these as well. For them, the real truth is, always opposite to the truth. Okay. The ones who call for Islam, they are really calling for shirk. The ones who call for shirk, they are really calling for Islam. Okay. If you say, we want to have Sharia Khilafah, they say nobody would ever say that unless they were Jew. What are you talking about? What are you talking about? Unless they were Mossad Aiden, they wouldn't call for Khilafah. What do you mean? Yeah, and then once one of them comes up and says, I call for democracy. What do you think? Let's all vote together and we're going to establish democratic parliament in the government. Say, mashallah, this man, Shaykh al-Islam, he's fighting for Islam. He's trying to establish the deen for us. This type of conspiracy theory, they call all the mujahideen and the ulama and the sincere people, the good people, people who do good deeds, they call them agents and disbelievers and spies. And anybody who openly says, come join the police force, work for MI5, we are so-and-so masjid, I don't want to name anybody, okay? We are so-and-so mosque, and we will like to invite the police to tell you about careers in the MI5, okay? We like to give you this pamphlet, about how you can work with Prevent, how you can spot an extremist. And I have a leaflet today, Dr. was telling me, I have a leaflet today, which they said, if you notice your child, if your child starts to, start to dress modestly all of a sudden, I mean, before it's okay when they were, wearing revealing clothes, low backs, everything, no problem, it's fine. Now they're starting to wear modest clothes, okay? Alarm bells, okay? And they start to do better in school, better grades in school, and they hang around people with good manners. Okay? This is the leaflet. This is what they say to you. So these are the signs of extremism. Okay? Yeah. Contact so-and-so prevent program so we can stop them being radicalized. Okay? Having those funny ideas. What are you polite for? Tell them how to swear. So you have these mosques that are openly telling you, how can we work with the police? How can we prevent Islam, circumvent jihad, and stop all of the deen? How can we do that? If they're telling you, come on, join the police, join the MI5, come and vote in the elections, and they say to you, he's not an agent. He can't be an agent. He must be the good Muslim. But the one who says, so join the police is haram and kufr and you become kafir, he must be agents. What's wrong with people? You understand? These satanic ideas, the theories, everything is a conspiracy. Okay? That is, and people, they follow that instead of following Islam, that will make them fall into that kufr. Okay. Then you have as well rulers, MPs, etc. Those who, say legislators. So the people start to follow those rulers instead. Okay? They start to follow the rulers and the MPs instead of following the law of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Okay? Allah ordered us what? وَاتَّبِعْ مَا يُوحَى إِلَيْكَ مِنْ رَبِّكَ. Follow what has been revealed to you from your Lord. Okay? And instead to follow what was revealed to you from your Lord, you follow the ruler and the MP and say, no, but the law of the land says. The law of the land says something different. And the law of the land is not supposed to give you any answers. It doesn't give you any answers. Okay? It doesn't give you any solutions. When you have a problem, people say, we have a problem. Essentially, when you're saying we want to follow something, the follow one, the one if somebody leads you, even if it's like a rope, there's a high rope around your neck and they take you, you follow them wherever they go. Okay? So the rule is, you're going to follow them behind their backs, wherever they go. Whenever you have a problem, you say, what does the law tell us about it? Okay? They say, we have new problem of war broken out in Syria. Let's turn to the United Nations. They can tell us what we should do. Why do you want to go to the United Nations for? What are they supposed to do? How are they supposed to help you exactly? How can they bring you a solution? They say to you, we have a problem of burglaries. There's been a spike in burglaries in London, for example. Yeah, and the funny thing, I saw a billboard in my local area. They said, we reduced burglaries in this area by 39 burglaries. Forget about the other 1,000 or so that took place. But we stopped 39 of them. Okay? And who knows who stopped them? The guy probably had a cold, he didn't go out that day. But in the Sharia, under the Khilafah, hardly they had 30 burglaries in 10 years in the whole country, in the whole land. But the people, instead to say, let's see what the Sharia says is the solution. See what Allah revealed to us solution to our problem. How do we stop the burglaries? Okay, Allah said, how do you stop them? Cut the hand, nobody steals anymore. Cut one hand, nobody ever steals. And then you have the kuffar. They give you solutions. They said, let's see what the MPs have to say. They must know how to solve a problem for us. Okay, so they will have new solution for us. Okay, or you have a problem of drinking. You have too many people drinking, binge drinking, date rapes, drink drivers, domestic violence, all the problems because of alcohol. Is a big problem of alcohol. People getting drunk and going to hospital. Why? Because of alcohol. So what's the solution? The Sharia says simple. Alcohol is haram, not allowed to make it, not allowed to buy it, not allowed to sell it. And the one who drinks it, we're going to lash him 40 lashes. Okay, or 80 lashes. Simple. Go to the parliament, what's their solution? Okay. The solution is we need to have 24 hours drinking. Okay. It used to be that you have to stop drinking at I don't know what time it was, 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock, whoever it was. So that's the problem. People stop drinking. So we need to make it more drinking until 24 hours a day that they can drink. That will solve the problem. What exactly is that going to solve? How is that going to save anybody? But they think in their own mind that's going to save. They have a problem of single mothers, teenage pregnancies, kids getting pregnant, 13, 14, 15, whatever. What's the solution? What's the solution? Simple solution. Okay. First of all, zina is haram, adultery is haram. Stop the free mixing, stop the flirting, stop the relationship outside of marriage. You're not going to have that problem. And even they say that the Muslim community in the UK, they are reducing the average, or the statistics because of the Muslims. They don't have many teenage pregnancies. But the rest of the community, if it wasn't for them, the figures would be much higher. Okay, have such a massive problem in this country. So what's the solution? What's the solution? The Sharia has a simple solution. What's the solution according to Parliament? They say we need to teach the kids about sex from the age of 5. That will stop it. But what are you talking about? So when people they start to say, instead to turn to Allah, tell us what we should do. Tell us what we should do, how we should behave, how do we manage our affairs? They say, no, let's go to the MPs, let's go to United Nations, let's go to the rulers, the kuffar, the shaitan, let him tell us what we should do. That person is following the, Taghoot, he becomes a Taghoot al-Matbu'. Okay? And you have as well another type of, Taghoot al-Matbu'. It is, so al-Matbu', the Zandaqa. Zandaqa are those false ideas dressed up like Islam. Okay? And these are very dangerous. Because those people, they pretend to you what they're doing is Islam. And they're teaching you as if, no, this is the real Islam. Okay? In fact, they are making complete kufr. Like the one who starts to fabricate a hadith, to justify his kufr. Especially the Shia Rafid, they do this. Okay? The Shia, the Nusayris, they are known for fabricating, evidences, fabricating a hadith. So they will, the Shia will say to you that they're following the real Islam. And they want to tell you that no, they are the true Muslims, and all the Sahaba were kuffar, and all the Sunnis are kuffar. Okay? And even the mothers of the believers, they condemn them. And then they say, no, they are following the true Islam. Okay? If you're going to follow them instead of following what Allah revealed, okay, you're going to fall into the shirk. You're going to fall into the shirk. Okay? Or the one who says to you, like you have Erdogan, and you have Mursi, and Hamas, and all these other groups, Ikhwan al-Muslimin, what they say to you is that they're trying to establish Islam. They want to establish Islam, and they just have to do some kufr to do it. In order to reach it, they need to do some kufr. Yeah? And people, until now, they keep asking me. They ask the question, what do you think about, what about Mursi? What about Erdogan? I say, yeah, he's kafir. What's the problem? What's the difference? You see, but they really want Islam. Okay, when he embraces Islam, he'll be Muslim. Yeah? It's good that he wants Islam. Let him embrace it. But as long as he's on the kufr, he's going to be kafir. As long as he's ruling by man-made laws, he's going to be kafir. So you don't say he's ruling by man-made laws for the sake of Allah. He's ruling by the shirk and the democracy for the sake of Allah. And if you use that to justify the kufr, and you follow that kufr in that name, you become mushrik. You're following the Taghoot, you're not following Allah. Just because it's been dressed up as Islam doesn't make it Islam. Okay? So these things are very dangerous. Now they're going to say to you, elections coming up, they're going to say that the Sharia wants us to gain the benefit, the maslahah. So the objective from maqasid al-Sharia, from the objectives of the Sharia is jalb al-masalih wa dar al-mafasid, is to achieve the benefit and to prevent the harm. Okay? So now they will say to you, therefore, akhi, if we can get some benefit by voting for the MP that is the lesser of the two mushriks, okay, it's a different word, the lesser of the two mushriks, the lesser shirk of the two shirks, okay, both of them shirk akbar, however, if we do that and we can get a little bit of benefit, then it's okay. In fact, it becomes wajib, becomes fard. In fact, if you don't believe in that, you become kafir. Okay? But you're the one who's khawarij. How dare you say that the one who commits shirk in Allah is mushrik? So this idea, when they try to dress up the kufr as Islam, and people they follow it, that is following the Taghoot. They are following the Taghoot. And you have as well al-Tawaghit al-Mutara. Okay? So this could be from the jinn, okay? Or it could be from the human. Okay? The laws from the from either of these. So the shaitan, he is from the jinn, and he whispers to you, and he tries to convince you, and he tries to order you, to worship him, to commit the shirk. And if you obey him, then you fall into the shirk. Okay? If you obey him, you fall into the shirk. Okay? And those jinn as well, those shayateen, they will whisper to their own allies from the humans as well, and they will tell them to debate with you about the law of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Okay? To debate with you about the laws of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and if you obey them, you become mushrik. And there's one ayah, inshallah, I want to bring here. Very important one. Surah 6, verse 121. Surah An'am, verse 121. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَلَا تَأْكُلُوا مِمَّا لَمْ يُذْكَرَ اسْمُ اللَّهِ عَلَيْهِ وَإِنَّهُ لَفِسْقٌ وَإِنَّ الشَّيَاطِينَ لَيُوحُونَ إِلَىٰ أَوْلِيَائِهِمْ لِيُجَادِلُوكُمْ وَإِنْ تَعْتَذِرُوهُمْ إِنَّكُمْ لَمُشْرِكُونَ. He said, don't eat, okay, do not eat from the meat that the name of Allah has not been mentioned. Okay, so meaning here, don't eat the dead meat that has not been slaughtered, or the meat that's been slaughtered for other than the name of Allah. Okay, the haram meat is prohibited. Don't eat it. And he said, وَإِنَّهُ لَفِسْقٌ, and this is a sin. Okay, if you eat it, you don't become kafir. It's a sin. Okay, if you eat dead meat, unslaughtered meat, you become, you're sinful. But then he said, وَإِنَّ الشَّيَاطِينَ, and they're the shayateen from the jinn. They whisper to their own allies from the humans. Okay? لِيُجَادِلُوكُمْ. Okay? In order to debate with you about it. To debate with you about the prohibition of the dead meat. And then Allah subhanahu said what? وَإِنْ أَطَعْتُمُوهُمْ, if you obey them, إِنَّكُمْ لَمُشْرِكُونَ, you are polytheists, mushrikeen. Okay. And this ayah was revealed about, there are a number of narrations. One narration said it was the Jews, some of them said it was the mushrikeen. But in any case, they came to the Muslims and they started to ask them questions and debate with them about this hukum. Allah said, don't eat the dead meat. Okay, there's not been slaughtered. So they said, look, when the sheep dies, who's the one who takes his life? I said, Allah. And when you slaughter, Allah is the one who takes his life. So how can it be that what you slaughter with your iron knife is halal, but what Allah slaughters with his golden knife is haram? How is it possible? So they start to debate with you with this, irrational ideas, and they make it sound nice. Just make it sound so, as if it makes sense. It doesn't make sense. But they make it look to you as if, look, we need to think ourselves. We need to make our own laws. We decide. So they're trying to convince the Muslims to say that it's okay to eat the dead meat. At the end of the day, Allah is the one who slaughtered it. Okay. Whereas what you slaughtered is good, but Allah is the one who slaughtered the dead meat. This is what they're trying to say. Yes.
After the Jews said that, did the ayah
The ayah was revealed, yes, about that. And then Allah said, basically, don't obey them. If you obey them, you become mushrik.
Okay,
yeah?
so Rasulullah didn't.
No, none of them accepted it. But what Ibn Kathir said about it as well, but in his hadith, he said that the Muslims, they nearly, were going to accept it from them, and then Allah revealed and stopped, and saved them from that. Okay, so this idea of debating the laws, we decide, and that's exactly what they're doing in Parliament. It's exactly what Parliament is for. The entire House of Parliament is built on the idea that we will debate with each other what should be the laws that we follow. Which laws should we implement? That debate is kufr in itself. As if to say Allah is not the legislator. Right? Allah said, for example, now they're talking about they want to debate about the law stunning the stunned meat. They want to, they're not going to debate. No, they're never going to do it because then they have to ban the Jews' kosher meat as well. But if it was just Muslims, then maybe they would have done. But the whole point is that they want to have a debate about should we ban, slaughtering without stunning. How is that open to debate in the first place? Allah said, don't stun, slaughter. It's finished. The law's done. The law's been legislated. How can you debate about it after that? So the concept of debating these laws in Parliament in the first place is complete kufr. You only had one choice from the beginning, was to implement the law of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You never had the choice of, I will implement a different law, we'll debate it, is it really relevant anymore? What do you mean is it really relevant anymore? Well, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is not the legislator anymore, you become the legislator, you took over? No. Allah is always the legislator, from before and after. So, the one who's been obeyed, and obviously, shirk al-ta'ah, it does have conditions, because when we talk about shirk al-ta'ah, is the difference. In this ayah you can see, it said, the one who ate the dead meat, he's a sinner. Okay, but the one who obeyed them in making the meat halal, he is the mushrik. Okay, he is the mushrik. So the obedience is the one who obeys somebody thinking that his law is the one that makes you accountable or not. Meaning, his law will make you sinful or rewarded. If you obey his law, you'll be rewarded. If you disobey, you'll be punished, sinful. So if this is what they believe, then they become mushrik. Okay, I'll give you a practical example. In France, they banned the hijab, okay, and the niqab. Okay, but the hijab, even in the schools, it's been prohibited. It's been illegal. It's made illegal in France to wear the hijab in the schools. Okay, I'm talking about the headscarf, not just the niqab. Okay? So this is obviously clear kufr law. Okay, now if there's a girl who went to the school and she didn't wear the hijab, why? Because she never wore the hijab. She wasn't ready yet, whatever the excuse, I'm not ready, I'm not, I don't feel right, I want to do it for the right reason, whatever her reasons. but she knows it's a sin. She knows she's sinful. She knows, I'm supposed to wear the hijab, but I'm not doing it. And she knows that's a sin for her. She's disobeying Allah. She knows that. So she is a sinner, like the one who ate the dead meat, knowing that it was haram. Okay, she's a sinner. But the woman who went to the school not wearing hijab, or she used to wear the hijab and she took it off, okay, or maybe she never wore it either. But she says, even though Allah made it fard, because the president of France, the law of the land, says it's illegal, therefore I shouldn't wear it. And if I don't wear it, I'm not sinful anymore, because what can I do? The law of the land says so. She is mushrik. Because she is saying that the law that makes her sinful or not is the law of the land, the kufr law, instead of the law of Allah. Allah said, if you don't wear it, you're sinful. She said, no, I'm not sinful, because the law of the land said it's okay. You understand? That's one of the mushrik. Because you're making the kafir or the jinn or the shaitan or a man or a human as the legislator. The one who can tell you, this is a sin, this is not a sin. This is rewarded, this is not rewarded. This is the way that we will, establish the management of the affairs of the people based upon their own man-made laws. So if you do that, or if you think, if I don't obey the queen, I'm going to be sinful. No, what are you talking about? The queen is not Allah. Allah is the one that if you disobey him, you are sinful. Okay, so that's what's called obedience. When you think, if I disobey them, I'm going to be sinful or punished. And if I obey them, or if I obey them, I'll be rewarded. Okay, this is the one who has committed shirk in Allah by the gate of obedience. Okay, especially in matters which are known from Islam by necessity. Okay, matters which are known from Islam by necessity. Okay, so these are the types of the Taghoot, as we said. Okay, now we can talk about the heads. I'll roll off on this side. Okay. So the heads of Taghoot now. Okay, so the heads of Taghoot, they are 5. Okay, obviously this is just a matter of classification, and this is based upon what Sheikh Muhammad Abdul Wahhab and his own students and his children and so on that they wrote about it. And there are slight differences in the way some people they put these 5. But number 1 we'll put, okay, everybody agrees, is Shaitan. Okay, Shaitan is the biggest Taghoot. Okay, he is the head of all the Tawaghits. Okay, okay, so Shaitan. Okay, because the Shaitan calls you to obey, worship, or follow other than Allah. He will always order you towards that, call you towards that. So the one who obeys him, he's obviously going to be mushrik. Surah Yasin, verse 60 to 62. So Surah 36. Okay, and there's more than one verse we quote here, but one is enough for each of these points, inshallah, for now. Okay, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, أَلَمْ أَعْحَدْ إِلَيْكُمْ يَا بَنِي آدَمْ أَنْ لَا تَعْبُدُوا الشَّيْطَانَ إِنَّهُ لَكُمْ عَدُوٌّ مُبِينٌ. Okay, وَنَعْبُدُونِي هَذَا صِرَاطٌ مُسْتَقِيمٌ وَلَقَدْ أَضَلَّ مِنْكُمْ جِبِلًّا كَثِيرًا أَفَلَمْ تَكُونُوا تَعْقِلُونَ. Allah subhanahu says, didn't I have a covenant with you, O children of Adam, that you do not worship shaitan? You should not worship shaitan. Verily, he is a clear enemy to you. But worship me alone. You worship Allah alone. That is the straight path. And indeed, the shaitan has led astray a large number of you. So shouldn't you then understand? Okay. Number 2. Al-Hakim بغير ما أنزل الله. Okay, which is the ruler that rules by other than Allah. Rule. Okay, by other than the Sharia. Okay. Meaning he replaces it. Just so we are not talking about the ruler who ruled by the Sharia but he committed some sins or some oppression. We're talking about the one who replaced the Sharia of Allah with something else. Okay, and this is mentioned by Shaykh Muhammad ibn Abdul Wahhab as the second head of Taghoot after the Shaitan, and we mentioned by many of the ulama from the Da'wah Najdiyya as the head of the Taghoot. And in fact, every single Madkhali would have read this at some point and maybe had to take a breath for a moment. But they would have read this and they would have learned it and maybe even memorized it even as well. And the only excuse that they come up with, they say that actually what those shuyukh meant was Taghoot linguistically is the one who went beyond the limit. So and therefore technically anybody who disobeys Allah is Taghoot, and so it doesn't mean that he's kafir. So shaitan doesn't necessarily mean kafir. It could just be sinner. This is the mentality that obviously they go to. Okay. In fact, of course, this is the only one that they make excuse for. The rest of the heads of Taghoot are clearly kafir in their eyes as well. It's only this one that they find some way to make excuse for. So yes, the ruler who rules by other than Allah revealed, he is kafir. And he quotes here, Shaykh Muhammad Wahhab, he quotes Surah Nisa, verse 60. Surah 4, verse 60. Okay. Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says what? ألم ترى إلى الذين يزعمون أنهم آمنوا بما أنزل إليك وما أنزل من قبلك يريدون أن يتحاكموا إلى الطاغوت. He said, have you seen those who falsely claim to believe in what was revealed to you and what was revealed before you, and yet they seek judgments from the Taghoot? وقد أمروا أن يكفروا به, and they were ordered to reject it. ويريد الشيطان أن يضلهم ضلالا بعيدا, and the shaitan wishes to misguide you and claim misguidance. Okay. So the ayah is talking about those who go for judgment instead of the ruler that will rule by what Allah revealed. They go to, and Allah named him Taghoot, because he's going to judge and rule between them by other than what Allah revealed. Okay. So this is, the ruler who replaces the Sharia with anything else. The third head of Taghoot, okay, and some scholars they'll put number 3, the magician, Sahir. This is the one option, is not a problem. But I'm not going to put that one. Others they said, the scholar, okay, or judge, the judges by other than what Allah revealed. Like the Jews, like the rabbis and priests, that made halal haram, haram halal. They made themselves, the legislator to be worshipped, to be obeyed and followed instead of Allah. Okay. So here, Shaykh Muhammad Abdul Wahhab, he quoted Surah Ma'idah verse 44. Okay. Which he said, وَمَنْ لَمْ يَحْكُمْ بِمَا أَنزَلَ اللَّهُ فَأُولَٰئِكَ هُمُ الْكَافِرُونَ. Okay, whoever judges or rules by other than what Allah revealed, they are al-kafirun, they are the disbelievers. Okay, and this is well known. This ayah applies to absolutely anybody. Okay, absolutely anybody, whether ruler or judge or even the man in the home. If he makes halal for his children the haram, and he says to them, no, it's okay, alcohol is halal for us, he becomes kafir. Okay. Whereas if he recognizes alcohol is haram, may Allah forgive us, but go and buy me some alcohol, says to his son, for example, this person is a sinner, but he's not kafir, because he didn't make it halal. He didn't replace the law of Allah. Okay. If he said to his son, doesn't matter what Allah revealed, we follow the law of the land. And the law of the land says it's allowed for us, it's halal. So therefore, brother, my son, it's allowed, it's halal, go and get some, it's okay. This person is kafir, he's mushrik. Number 4. Okay. Number 4 is, okay, like the kahin, the fortune teller, the one who claims to know the ghaib. The ghaib. The ghaib is the unseen, meaning anything that only Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows. Okay? That nobody, no creation can know it. Only Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows it. That is the ghaib. Okay? So this includes, for example, to know the future. The only thing we know about the future is what Allah revealed to us, to the Anbiya. Okay, from the signs of the hour and so on. That's why it's very dangerous when people start to predict things from the future that doesn't have an evidence. Okay, that doesn't have an evidence, and they start to add, all sorts of things to, this knowledge of the ghaib of the future, and they insist on it as well. They say no, the Mahdi will come out in 2022. Okay, and it's going to be on so and so date, so and so time as well. Okay, and they say, in fact, right now the Mahdi is 6 years old. Okay? And he goes, and we think he goes to so and so school. Now, you can't have this, speculating. It's too much. It goes too much. We stick to what the revelation tells us about the future, because the only way we could know anything about the future is by revelation. We don't make it up. Okay? We don't just make up things. Okay? Because the ghaib is only the knowledge that's known to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah says in Surah Al-Jinn, verse 26, that He is عَالِمُ الْغَيْبِ فَلَا يُظْهِرُ عَلَىٰ غَيْبِهِ أَحَدًا. Okay, He says Allah knows all the ghaib and He doesn't reveal it to anybody. Surah 72, verse 26. Okay. So He doesn't, reveal the ghaib to anybody, except for the one He chosen from the messengers, in which He only sends him some revelation, and He sends a guard with that revelation as well, to guard and prevent it from being, exploited. Also, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in Surah An'am, verse 59, Surah 6, verse 59, وَعِنْدَهُ مَفَاتِحُ الْغَيْبِ لَا يَعْلَمُهَا إِلَّا هُوَ وَيَعْلَمُ مَا فِي الْبَرِّ وَالْبَحْرِ وَمَا تَسْقُطُ مِنْ وَرَقَةٍ إِلَّا يَعْلَمُهَا وَلَا حَبَّةٍ في ظُلُمَاتِ الْأَرْضِ وَلَا رَطْبٍ وَلَا يَابِسٍ إِلَّا فِي كِتَابٍ مُبِينٍ. He said, and to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala belong the keys of the ghaib. Nobody knows it except for Him. And He knows everything in the lands and the sea. And there's no leaf that falls except that He knows it. And there's no grain in the darkness of the earth or anything fresh or dry except that it's written down in a clear record. Surah 6, verse 59. The one who claims to have this knowledge instead of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he is a Taghoot. He's claiming to have the attributes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Okay, he's claiming to have the attributes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So this includes the fortune teller, the one who, claims to look at the crystal ball and tell you the future, what's going to happen to you, or the palm reader, or the one who, reads your tea leaves, or whatever they want to read, okay, and they want to claim that they know the future with that, okay. They are Taghoot. They are claiming the knowledge of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala of the ghaib. Okay, so they are from the heads of Taghoot. Okay, Mystic Meg, for example, she is Taghoot. Okay, she is Taghoot. So this is, the fourth head of the Taghoot. Number 5. The one who is worshipped and is pleased with that, okay, he is Taghoot. I'll give you the ayah, one ayah for this one, inshallah. Surah Anbiya, verse 29. Surah 21, verse 29. And so, for example, you have some of these, so-called peers, so-called saints, and their followers, they come and they kiss them, they take barakah from them, tabarruk, and they make sujood to them, and then all these things, from their own so-called sheikh or teacher, or this type of thing, they are worshipping him. Okay, they are worshipping them, And if he's okay with that, he's happy with that, he accepts that, okay, then he is Taghoot, he is a kafir. Okay, he cannot escape from that. Okay, if he rejects it and he forbids them and says, "Dare you? Who do you think you are?" Like when Ali ibn Abi Talib, they came and they claimed that he was God. He said, "If you don't stop that, I'm going to kill you." That's Ali ibn Abi Talib. Today they say, "Oh, we want to worship the Shaykh." They said, "Oh, really? Come, bring your friends." This person, he is kafir. Okay, he is Taghoot. He is claiming to be God. Allah Ta'ala says in Surah Anbiya verse 29, so وَمَنْ يَقُلْ مِنْهُمْ إِنِّي إِلَهٌ مِنْ دُونِهِ فَذَلِكَ نَجْزِيهِ جَهَنَّمَ كَذَلِكَ نَجْزِي الظَّالِمِينَ. He said, and whoever among them says, "I am Ilah, I'm to be worshipped. Okay, I'm the one that can be worshipped instead of him, or besides Allah," then for him Allah will send him to the hellfire, and that is how we deal with the oppressors. Okay, I mean the mushrikeen. Okay, so these are the heads of the Taghoot. How are we doing for time? Okay, about 10 minutes. Okay, so I'll stop here so that we've got some time for question and answers. And what we can do next week, either we talk about the conditions of rejecting the Taghoot, or we can go into more detail about other examples of Taghoot, like we did with these 5. In a lot more detail, including to talk about the shaitan in more detail, the magicians, the hawa, the fortune tellers, with some of the evidences for each of these different types of Taghoot. Okay, I will decide that inshallah maybe afterwards. But there's many different examples we can give. I can list for you maybe about even if we don't go into all of them to detail, we can list at least about 20-30 different types of Taghoot examples, especially ones of today, in modern times that you can recognize and know, so that we know how that we can reject these, inshallah. وآخر دعوانا الحمد لله رب العالمين.